What's going on, everybody? Respawn Gentleman here. So today I'm going to be giving you my review of Dead Island 2. So starting off with the story, one thing I will say is that it is extremely short. You can honestly finish the entire thing in roughly about 10 to 15 hours, which can be disappointing for a $70 game. So it just kind of depends on how much you want to replay the game, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But the story itself is better than other zombie games that are out there. But it's also nothing spectacular. Without kind of giving too much away, there are some characters that get introduced as being like the big bads potentially, and leading up to a potential fight with them, and it just goes nowhere. You kind of see them every once in a while, and that's it. It kind of feels like it was set up more for it to be finished with the DLC, which is kind of disappointing, but again, it wasn't a terrible story, but nothing absolutely spectacular on that side. Now let's get into the gameplay. This is kind of the main deal of the game is what you're doing. So if you go into this game with the mindset of you're just going to smash a bunch of zombies, you're going to have a lot of fun, because that is what you do in this game. It is just smashing zombies left and right. There are a decent number of them where you can get overwhelmed very easily, but they are usually spaced out enough to where you can kind of draw them away from yourself or use different consumables to make the fights easier and things like that. The combat system is really great because it brings more tactics into it. It's not just, I'm just going to smash all these zombies in the face. It's, okay, well, how do I want to do that? Do I want to use, my electric crowbar or my fire machete, or, kind of whatever you have on you. And with the different enemy resistances and immunities, it kind of makes you assess each situation differently. Although I will say, even though some enemies are weak to blunt damage, if you use a blunt weapon, especially with the impact mod, you're basically gonna make sure that nothing is ever immune to your hits. So there's that. Gunplay in the game is okay. If you're trying to aim down the sights, don't, because it makes your aim absolutely terrible. It's one of the things I've noticed. I do like using the guns, especially some of like the heavy guns, like kind of the hunting rifles. They work really, really well and can one-shot enemies from a distance, which is fantastic. And guns are great to use against Apex boss enemies, but other than that, you really want to stick to melee weapons. Now, the game's not actually open world. It's broken up into about 10 different areas, which are relatively small. There's not a ton to explore, with the exception of pretty much Venice Beach and the pier a little bit. Those are the two largest maps in the game, and everything else just feels really small and condensed, and it just feels like there's not enough to do and look for and explore in those areas, which is a bit disappointing. One of the things that everybody's been praising them on is their new gore system that's in the game, and although it is great, one of the things that kind of sticks out to me is the fact that it feels like they spent more time working on the gore system and making everything look real or gross or kind of whatever, rather than improving other aspects of the game. Like, for example, having an open world or more fleshed out areas with more things to explore, or more in-depth story missions, or more missions in general. It just feels like everything in the game took a back seat to the gore system, and to me it's a little disappointing, but it's still a ton of fun to play. Now, as far as replayability, there is no New Game Plus, so if you want to play the game multiple times, you'll have to start a brand new character over from the beginning. Although I will say, when you do start multiple characters, it gets easier with each consecutive character because you're used to the game, and it just is simpler. You can actually even transfer weapons between characters, which is really nice, as long as the character is a certain level to match that weapon. But as far as that goes, like, you can only go through the game 6 times before having to delete a save and do it again. And even that, like, it feels like there's just not enough content in the game. It feels, again, like I mentioned before, that the DLC is really what they're writing on. Like, people are going to stick with the game until the DLC comes out, and we're going to get all this extra stuff. It just feels like there wasn't enough put in the game to warrant the $70 purchase. Now, that being said, I do really enjoy this game, and I do highly recommend you pick it up. However, I would definitely wait for there to be a sale because, again, picking it up at the full price, you may not get the full experience of what you expect out of a $70 game. Like I said, you can complete the main story in roughly about 10 to 15 hours, and that's even with doing some side quests. And it's really, really short, and if you don't feel like doing multiple playthroughs of different characters, then yeah, it's really not worth it. So definitely wait for a sale, but I would highly recommend playing the game because it is a ton of fun to smash zombies in the face. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Dead Island content, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.